There are so many different platforms out there that you can use for generative AI to help you to fear less at work and in life. But what you want to make sure that you're doing is trying out a bunch of them. See what fits the needs that you have at any given point, whether it's playing with ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, which is built into Google, Meta, Microsoft Copilot, or Perplexity. They all have different strengths against each other. And as a reminder, if you haven't already bought your copy of Fearless in 5, which hit bookshelves officially today, you'll want to do that because some of the topics that we cover in not only today's session, but all week long are covered in the book in much more depth. You'll find expert opinion on it, a lot of stories, many AI prompts that are built into there, and other tools and activities, 5-step activities, which is why it's called Fearless in 5, that you can put into practice to make all of the learnings and insights applicable and easy to apply in your life. Now, for those of you who didn't join us yesterday, we did ask folks, where do they need help? Networking was at the top of the list. So don't forget to join us tomorrow for our session on connections, but then advocating for yourself and confidence were up there as well. If you missed it, you'll also see that AI helps people be efficient and communicate with confidence the most. But we also saw that when we asked people how they're using AI today, that the vast majority of them are using it as it relates to creating content, whether that's drafting emails or blogs or social media posts or essays. And so in today's session, we're going to take that to the next level. How can you use AI to be that strategic thought partner for these difficult moments where you need to communicate, but then also how you can use it as a coach to help you have more executive presence and present with power? So, as a reminder, coming up later this week, we've got connections tomorrow, control on Thursday, and courage on Friday. And if you do buy the book this week and register on fearless-in-5.com, then you will get a lot of bonuses that I want to make sure you get. Access all year to the premium subscription of Substack, which is called the Fearless Learning Library. You'll get a in-depth Network Like a Natural Masterclass coming up this Monday, and then a Fearless Summit live virtual event, which is going to be all day coming up in the fall. And as I mentioned, I'll share this out later. This is where you're going to be able to access not only yesterday's recording, but today's as well, because you'll find I like to move quick. There is a lot to cover. And so if you need to go back and take a look at it, this is where you'll be able to do it. So let's dive into communication. There are so many ways that you can use AI to help you, whether that is building rapport for people that you don't already have a relationship with, customizing an elevator pitch for the business owners or consultants, especially if any of you who are employees, if you are in situations where you're meeting new colleagues or customers or partners, role playing tough conversations, which, as we saw, dealing with conflict is one of the most important things that you can use it for, and negotiating. Not It's something that's so critical, but not enough of us do it. We just accept what's given to us. And very importantly, it can make you a stronger leader and speaker. And so I want to start off by asking for those of you, if you can put it in the chat, you can give me a yes. If you want to give me a thumbs up, you can give me a thumbs up, or you can use one of the emoticons. But who here has recorded themselves speaking and then uploaded it to AI and asked for it to analyze and assess how you are as a speaker and give you feedback as if they're a professional communications coach? So if you have done this, I want to see a big whoop whoop or thumbs up or something else to indicate that you have. Anyone? Bueller? Bueller? No. Okay. So this is the easiest way that you can get started with becoming a stronger speaker. You could use either your phone and just put it into video mode. You can even, if you don't want to videotape yourself and how you look, you could put it in video mode and just speak out loud. You can use a tool like Zoom with their free subscription if you don't have one that is paid for you through work. For many of you who are employees, if you work for a corporation that may use Microsoft Teams quite often or Google, these are all places where you could deliver a presentation or have a conversation, record it, download the recording, and then upload that recording into an AI platform like ChatGPT or Claude so that it can assess how you are as a speaker. And we're going to talk about some of the most important ways that you need to tailor your speaking so that you can come across with as much power, influence, and authority as possible. So put that on your homework assignment list because there are what I like to say 7 deadly sins of speaking. I know that's dramatic, but I got it from my mother, who's very dramatic. And that's okay. I love my mother, who's actually on this call. If you see her right now with my mother and father peeking in to watch. There we go. Uh, Normally, I go through 7 of these in an hour and a half long session. We only have a few minutes. So I'm going to touch on just a few of the ones that are most important, especially because as I look at the group that we have here, I do see my good friend Jeff Nelson all of a sudden in my window, but it looks like we're predominantly female. But so this is especially important then, and that is the first deadly sin is saying I'm sorry or apologizing for your contributions before you even say what you're going to say. So that gets a big you want to make sure that you're not doing that. And it's very common that in order to seem humble, not too aggressive, as Stanford University calls it, to abide by the modesty mandate so you don't get the backlash and then get called all those bad B names like brash, bossy, rhymes with witchy, abrasive, bulldog, whatever it might be. I know abrasive starts with an A, but there's a big old B in there. What we do is we may start off with our contribution with saying something like, well, this may be a dumb idea, or this may sound silly, or you may think this is stupid, or this is crazy, but how about this? Or I was even coaching one um, executive in the IT world who was trying to get promoted who couldn't. She tried time and time again. So once I started working with her, what I learned is that she would start anytime she was going to contribute something in a conversation or a meeting with, well, I'm not sure if this is right or wrong, but here's what I'm thinking. Well, the problem with that is then you are telling everybody else that you don't even know what you're talking about. So, in this world where everyone's distracted, why are they going to pay attention to you? That's going to be a perfect signal for them that they should pick up their phone and start scrolling the social media platform of their choice or check their email. So, we want to make sure we're eliminating those kinds of things from how we talk. We also want to eliminate filler words. Filler words are the junk that spills out of our mouth when our brain is trying to catch up to what we're saying. Filler words include like, so, to be honest. And the reason why there's a glass of wine on here is for any of you who enjoy a fine glass of wine, like my friend Jeff Nelson, you know that the last thing you want on earth is someone coming along and dripping water into your wine. But that is what happens essentially when you're adding a lot of drips and drabs of ums and so's and likes in there. And I want to give my dad, who's on this, a huge shout out because he was the one who was courageous enough to tell me when I was a teenager or a young adult that I was using the filler word like all the time. Like this, like that. And because of that, I was able to become conscious of that and eliminate that from how I speak. And we're going to talk about some ways you can do the same because using filler words and many of these other bad behaviors, it's almost like if you're behind the car and you're just going way too fast. And in fact, you need to slow down and in some cases to stop or add a pause into what you're saying. which also gives you more presence, makes you seem more in command, but it gives your brain a chance to catch up to your mouth. And so here's the exciting thing. You can train your brain around these two areas, especially as it relates to filler words. And that is you can use your own signals or biofeedback, if you want to think of it that way, to break these bad habits. I'll give you an example of how it would work. You could stick your fingernails into the palm of your hand. Do it with me right now. Stick your fingernails into the palm of your hand. Now, don't do it really obvious like this. Just keep it below the screen, right? Can anybody see that you're doing that? Absolutely not. Even if you're in a room with other people, nobody can see that you're doing that. Now, if you start telling yourself that anytime I do this, which is not a typical behavior when you're in a meeting, that is a signal to your brain that you need to slow down and become more conscious in how you're speaking and more thoughtful about the words that you're choosing. Because as I'm going to show you, you will start to learn what some of your filler words are and these other bad behaviors. And then once you know what it is, you can use biofeedback to break it. It may be that you're in a meeting and you're presenting and you might be a little bit nervous. Give yourself that little squeeze there. And it doesn't just need to be the fingernails into the hand. It could be that you're wiggling your toes in your shoes or your sneakers. I'm doing that right now. Do you have any idea? Nope. And then there's my favorite one. You could use biofeedback by clenching your butt cheeks. Come on, everybody. Let's do it. Clench those butt cheeks. See? Everybody's smiling, but nobody is seeing what you are doing behind the screen. So this is another way that you can give yourself that signal. And then what you can do is if you start to recognize by how I'm going to talk about how you use AI to identify these different areas, you can use different signals for different things. So for example, if I use a lot of filler words, I might stick my fingernails into my hand to say, I'm using those filler words, eliminate them, slow down, be conscious. But I might use another deadly sin in how I speak, which are hedges. And hedges are words like just, sort of, kind of, or a little bit. And the problem with these words or hedges or modifiers is that they make whatever you're saying less forceful or assertive. Again, that goes back to many times the modesty mandate that many women need to use so they don't get that bad backlash. But here's the problem. It makes whatever you say a bit fuzzy and it softens the statement. Other people think that you're not sure of what you're saying, and you're not a little baby bunny. You want to be perceived as the leader that you are. It also distances yourself from the message so you don't feel as connected to it. And most importantly, people are less likely to remember anything you say with hedging in it. So you want to make sure that you trim those hedges, get rid of the, I think, sort of kinds of injusts. And so here's what you're going to do. You are going to start off by taking a look at your emails that you write or text messages and look for any of those hedges. But then you're also going to download the transcripts of any past meetings that you may have had for all you employees out there and some of you business owners. Download those transcripts if your company is recording these meetings into the platform of your choice. And then you can just upload that and ask AI to look for your filler words if you were ever apologizing before you are contributing your idea, and if you're using any hedging language or modifiers. Okay. ChatGPT, Teams, etc., they will know what filler words are, hedges, and unnecessary apologies. You don't even have to explain that. You can also ask it to play the role of an expert communications coach and identify any other behaviors that you're doing when you're presenting that or speaking to someone that's taking away your power. And then once you have that knowledge, you can start putting these tactics in place. This and wiggling those toes and squeezing those butt cheeks, which will make you a stronger leader and speaker. Now, there's other things that you can do as well. You can ask it to play the role of your audience. So if you're doing a presentation, or play the role of your client, if you have to have a tough conversation or you're trying to pitch somebody on something, and you can ask AI to play the role and ask you the questions that the person who's receiving the information would likely ask, so that you can get ready to think about, well, what are those answers that I would provide? What are the objections that are likely to surface? And then, of the ones that I'm not prepared to handle in real time, how do I prepare for those? What would be the best way for me to position my answer so that I end up with the best outcome and it doesn't become a barrier for us to have a relationship or close a deal or whatever it might be? You can also start creating template messages that you use for typical outreach, like clients or customers, common ones that you use with colleagues for all the employees who are there, or even with your family, events that you're going to be attending, or the follow up coming out afterwards. And then certainly any speaking opportunities, because it's important that you're getting visibility and you're showing up on panels and at your company town halls, and maybe even getting a keynote one day so that people can hear all your brilliant ideas. But these are ways that you can just use that template and then let the AI platform know that you want them to tailor whatever that message is for a specific client, for a specific event. And you can even just voice dictate in any context that will help AI to tweak the messaging and make it really resonate in that environment. You can even tell AI to scrub all of their social media sites of the person I'm meeting with. So let's say I was having a conversation with Jeffrey Nelson, who's joining us. I could say, here's the template message I want to send. I want to have it tailored for our conversation. But first, please scrub his LinkedIn, go through his Facebook, Instagram, Threads, you name it, and give me a better idea of what are the things that what he cares about, where he's been recently, who are the clients that he is talking about and promoting whenever he is talking on LinkedIn or anything else. And that can help you then, when you are having that conversation, to instantly build trust and rapport, because I already know about him without spending a zillion hours on it. Now, as I had mentioned yesterday, you can do voice chat. If you're not familiar with how to do that, definitely watch the recording from yesterday on confidence. I'll explain all of that for you there, of how you can use voice mode and how game changing that is for role playing. And as I mentioned, I want to make sure we're saving some time for questions and coaching. So if you haven't done it yet, buy your copy of Fearless in 5. It's now available everywhere. Once you do, register on fearless-in-5.com, and I'll put that into the chat for all of you. And then make sure that you visit the Flip the Fear community on Substack. It's free. All you have to do is subscribe, and this is where you'll get the copy of the recording from today. You'll also be able to access yesterday's recording on confidence, and then I'll be adding in AI prompt libraries that you can use for each of these different topics, and so much more that's available for you there. And then I hope I get to see you the rest of this week for connections, control, and courage that we will be covering off after. So let's take a look to see if we have any questions which have surfaced yet in the Q&A and Menti. And if you have a specific question, put that into Menti right now so we can make sure that we get to that. And even if we don't have time on today's call to get to all of those questions, I will then provide the answers through Substack so that I will address your questions. So put in any of the questions you may have around how to be a stronger, more confident communicator, so we can get those in there. And as you're thinking about that, if there's anyone who has a specific scenario or challenge or question that you want to bring up, please just raise your hand using, again, either the emoticon or your actual hand if you can. As you're thinking about those questions that you may want to ask through Menti in that Q&A. What you can also do is if you start to see some other questions that are populating from anyone and it's something that you want to make sure that I answer, give it a thumbs up, and that way we can prioritize that and get to those first. Okay, so I see that we have Lucy was so great. She had asked a question yesterday, as she is an entering law student, about how she could be using AI in terms of making sure that she's organized and starting off her year as positively as possible. Who else would like to ask a question today? Don't be shy. I don't bite. We're all here to help each other.
Hi, Jennifer. It's Jeff.
Hi,
I
Jeff.
just I just wanted to make a quick comment. First of all, I wanted to say congratulations on certified speaking professional designation. That's amazing. So I just wanted to say congratulations there.
Thank you.
I also wanted to say that, we're going to be launching a product. I work obviously in, neurology and medical sales, working with thought leaders. And that AI idea of talking to ChatGPT and kind of having that one-on-one discussion, having her pretend that she is a key opinion leader and working through that. So that way I'm really prepared for this launch, which is hopefully coming in weeks. So that was a great idea. I didn't even know it had that capability. So thank you for that. And that's something that I'm going to do probably starting today, as a matter of fact.
Awesome. Well, let's
Say
role
hello.
play it here a second, Jeff. I'm going to do it with my voice mode so that you'll see exactly how you could do this. So let's play along.
Well, I can't even talk to you about it because it's not FDA approved. So that I can't do.
Wait, no, no, no. I'm not going to have you say anything about your thing. So hi, ChatGPT. Here's the thing. I am in a workshop right now, and we are going to
Okay.
role play that I am a salesperson of a pharmaceutical product, and I am meeting with a neurologist. And I need to convince them that my product, let's call it XYZ, is the best product that's coming on the market and better than anything else that's out there that they have been using. So can you role play this with me?
Ha, sure. I'll be the neurologist. Hi, I'm Dr. Reynolds. I've got a few minutes before my next patient. I'll be straight with you. I'm already comfortable with what I prescribe. There's always a new drug claiming it's better, so what's your 1 minute case for XYZ?
Well, we've done so much research, and this is honestly, it shows that it's more efficacious than anything else that's out there. It's going to have a big savings for your patients, and we're getting on all the formularies that are important to you. So that's why I'd really consider that you take some percent of your patient population and try this out with them.
Okay, but when you say more efficacious, what does that mean specifically? Like, how big's the benefit? And in which patients? Because if it's just a marginal gain with a lot of hassle, that's not very compelling.
Okay, so we're going to stop the role play. Can you give me any feedback now, ChatGPT in voice mode, of how I did and what I should have done better?
Yeah, 1 sec. I think you did some good things there. You sounded natural. You hit on outcomes, access, and cost, and that's good territory. If I were scoring it, maybe a 6.5 or 7 out of 10, mainly because it stayed pretty high level. The instant weak spot was more efficacious.
Okay, so hopefully you now see this is where you can go back and forth and try out then different ways. And you can say, bring up the objections that you think are most likely to surface. And I'm going to try and answer those in real time and then score me on each one of those. And I want real, honest, genuine feedback, and so that I can get better with time. So thank you so much, Jeff, for sharing that.
I love that. Thank you so much. What a great tool.
You're welcome, and it's free. You
Well,
can
I'm
also
paying.
get the paid version. I get the $20 a month paid version personally for Chat and Claude, ChatGPT and Claude, because then everything stays confidential to me. And also with voice mode, you get more time to use voice mode. So I'll use this. And Jeff, for you as a sales leader, when you're driving to and from those appointments with the neurologist, you could be talking and having these conversations in the car while you're driving. On your drive home after the neurologist conversation, you can then be talking in to say, okay, let me do a big brain dump. Here's everything that I heard. Here's where I think I did badly. Here's where I'm not happy with what I did. Here's what I should do for the follow up. And then put this all into a detailed note for me and a 48-hour action plan of what I should do coming out of this. And then by the time you walk in your front door, it's all there for you.
Do you have a preference on ChatGPT or Claude? Claude, do you have like the pros and cons between the two of them?
Uh, Claude, I find, is better at writing and really um, thoughtful ways that it can bring to life. Let's say if you're working on a strategy or something more detailed. Whereas Chat GPT, as much as I try to constantly tell it, don't kiss my you know what every time we're talking, it's still always like, giving, oh, that was a great job, Jen. Like, I probably didn't deserve a 6.5, and that I probably deserved a 2, but it's always trying to pick me up a little bit too much. However, ChatGPT is great at creating imagery and remembering everything that you've had in the past. And so I would say play with all of them and then sometimes go back and forth and use the outputs from one to help you refine it with the outputs of the other or as an input into another.
Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. Okay, so I see that we have the first question that came through here, which is what is a good way to pause effectively without filler words? I definitely struggle with my usage of filler words. Well, you are not alone. I'll tell you, when I was looking at yesterday's recording to upload it to my Substack last night, I thought, oh my gosh, I am using so many filler words, or specifically so. That was what I learned was my transition filler word. Sometimes we have different filler words for different things. And so in this case, I would say once you become conscious of what your filler words are, the biofeedback will really make a difference to tell you to start to slow down. Think of it as if you're driving a car. You don't go from 50 miles an hour to a stop sign. You go from 50 to 40 to 30 to 20 to 10. And as you get closer to that stop sign, you're really slowing down and then you pause. And it's the same with speaking. If you think about, I have a really important point that I want to make. So as I get closer to the end of the sentence, I'm going to start to slow down. You can also bring your intonation down. And that is another good signal that this is important. I'm done with this thought and I want you to pay attention to it. And it also shows that you have gravitas and that you are in command of what you're saying. So while it may feel uncomfortable, practice. And the more you do, the easier it will become. Okay, let's get to the next question we have here. And that is, do you find that AI mimics specific personas well? Okay, it's a good question. One thing that I recommend you all do if you haven't done it yet is download that transcript from any meetings or do a few practice conversations and then upload that into the AI platform that you use most often. Let's say it's ChatGPT and say, analyze how I speak. And in the future, I want you to use my tone and my style in all future communications. You can even say, here's how I want to be perceived. I want to be perceived as warm, empathetic, funny, clear, assertive, whatever it is. And it may change for different scenarios and different communications that you need to deliver. And it will help, but it's not perfect. AI is not a human, and it will not do a perfect job of explain or speaking in your voice all the time. It also the way it is human-like is it forgets things all the time. So even if you say add this to your memory, many times it forgets. So for example, I say, because one of our deadly sins is overusing adverbs, things like very, actually, simply. And I say, never use adverbs in any of my communications. Well, guess what shows up every 2 weeks or so? Adverbs start sneaking their way back in. So it's something to keep in mind. It can help, but it is something that you would need to readdress over time, and it's never going to be perfect, which is why I always say whatever you get from AI is your first draft. Don't ever publish, send, practice with whatever you get. You want to make sure you read it and make it genuine and authentic to you. Okay, I see we have one more question. Hi, Jen. When I am in a client meeting with my boss, at times my boss would cut me off when I am speaking. Boo. My boss has a strong personality, nothing wrong with it, but that made me feel less. Well, that makes sense because nothing can feel ruder to us than when we're interrupted. That's one of the basic tenets of effective listening is to never interrupt the other person, to wait until they are done and then to go. In this case, if it is with your boss, there are a few things that you can do to prompt up front so that they know that they shouldn't be speaking until you're done. So that can look something like this. Marissa, I have something I want to share with you. It may take a minute or two for it to come out, so just bear with me and I'll let you know when I'm done because I really want your opinion. Okay, so now you've given them the heads up that you would like them to stay quiet until you are done speaking. You could also give them a visual cue. Now, granted, because it's your boss, you want to be sensitive to this, but a visual cue could look something like if they start to interrupt you and you really pay attention to their nonverbal language, because you should be able to see them like move their body as if they're about to speak. You could do a quick give me just give me one more moment. I'm not done just yet because I want to share this with you. Okay. Now, on the flip side, I will say you might want to think about, is this a reminder that perhaps you need to tighten up how you deliver information? So if you're sharing all of the details and too much minutia, as some people do when they speak, your boss may not have time for that. And so this is they're trying to signal you because they're not comfortable having difficult conversations or providing feedback because they don't know how to do it either. They're trying to signal to you, like, come on, let's move it faster here. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get to the point. So if you start thinking about any time I'm speaking to someone with authority or anybody else, I want to make sure that I am delivering what I'm saying with 3 points or 2 points very clearly. And if I'm sharing something that does not add to the story or add to the outcome, I'm going to leave it out because nobody needs to know who I walked in the hallway past that's before I had this conversation or what I ate for lunch yesterday. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Certainly not your boss. So pull all that out. And this is another way you can use AI. You can prepare in advance to say, I have a one-on-one meeting with my boss. They typically tend to interrupt me. Here are the items on my agenda that I want to make sure we get to cover off. How can I deliver this as quickly and concisely as possible? And what types of questions might my boss ask me so I can be prepared for that and then provide the most concise answer at the same time. So I hope that was helpful. I'm going to check in the chat to see if there were any other questions that surfaced there. Hold on. I see Holly has says, thank you. She went all in with chat yesterday and is training it to be her chief of staff. Woohoo! If you missed yesterday's session, anyone, you will want to watch that. It also inspired me to brain dump a ton of stuff related to my son's search for college. And it was a wonderful relief to move from manual spreadsheets to AI. Oh, yeah, that is, if you have any major life event coming up, like a kid going to college or graduate school or moving to a new city or you're making a move yourself. This is the easiest way to start being on top of that. So thank you so much. It looks like we've already lost Holly, but hopefully she'll get to see this. And then I see Toby said, so smart. They're practical. Thank you so much. And then Fabiana asked, where can I find the recording for yesterday? So I am going to put into the chat right now where you can watch the replay. And so that would be the replay both from today as well as from yesterday. And then this is where you can go, where I will be putting all of the daily recordings plus some other goodies over the course of the next week for to help you on your journey. And so again, join my Substack. It's free. Yes, there is a premium version where you can access all the content that I ever post, but you don't need to pay for the premium version. But I will tell you a little secret. If you buy the book this week only, because launch week really matters for the success of a book, if you buy the book this week and then go on to fearlessin5.com, and I'm going to put that into the chat as well, and register there, you will get 1 year of free access to my premium subscription for the Flip the Fear community on Substack, which is $150 for people to join that normally. So I want to try and give back everything I can to all of you and everyone who's supporting us during this very important launch week. So with that, I know that we are over time than what we were planning, but I hope today was helpful for all of you. As I will do each time, I'm going to stick around for a few minutes in case you have a question that you aren't necessarily comfortable sharing in a big group environment and you want to wait until there's just one or two. I'll also shut off the recording so that if you want to ask a question that you don't want to go into the version that everyone else can see, I will do that. So for those of you joining us by watching the recording, bye. We are going to see you hopefully tomorrow. And for those of you